Hello, world. Welcome once again to the UnChristian podcast. Thank you for joining us. If it's your first time here, please do the right thing. Click on that subscribe button, click on the notification bell, drop us a like, and if you're listening on our other platforms, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, please leave us a review on that platform. It helps us to grow, helps us to reach more people. Welcome. Thank you for having us. And I'm not alone as always. I'm always with the queen of the UnChristian podcast. That's your new name, sis.
I am so you need to stop calling me the queen.
You are. There's no other one.
Anyway, hi guys. I've been looking forward to being back here with you. I hope you guys are watching, and I hope you know what? We keep telling them that they must say something, and they must give us more topics. And this week I didn't see anything.
I didn't see any response. So please do email us. There are details on the screen. Drop us a comment as well as you go along. Tell us what you would like to hear on this platform and what's working for you. What really blesses your heart. What's informative. What works. Yeah, and we always welcome critique as well.
Yes.
We do, and we use it. Today we are not alone. Together, we have an amazing couple. If we talk about couple goals, power couple, this is the definition of it. We have the Mazindos in the house. You remember we had an episode with Pastor Lehlohonolo Mazindo the other time, but now he said, no, I'm coming back with my better half.
Yes.
And Mrs. Maz is in the house. Welcome, guys. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us,
Yes.
but so much pressure as the show starts. That's a lot of pressure.
Oh, man. Oh, no, we are so expectant. We know that you guys are doing wonderful things in the speaking space, writing, in the empowerment space, even in the media space. We really look up to you, and thank you for your courage in the work you do. So, are you good?
I'm very, very good.
Yeah.
I'm as good as I can get because now I'm not alone.
Yeah. You've got backup now.
Fully amped.
Yes,
you
sir.
Feel, you feel empowered.
Yeah, I call you Mr. Don't Sleep because you are on radio at midnight. You are the midnight guy on radio stations.
We've got to cater for our night owls.
Yeah.
There are people who are sleepless. They just can't fall asleep because of the issues of life.
Ish, yeah.
So they have to hear somebody whisper the words of hope into their spirit.
Yeah.
So that they can also and just begin to find meaning and purpose in their lives.
Yeah.
And have a life worth living. We're
Yeah,
gonna
I get
find
you.
them
I
in
get
their
you.
sleepless beds.
How's the response on radio for you? What's the experience? What's the feedback from the radio audience?
Yeah, they are very, very engaged. They are
Yeah.
very responsive.
Awesome.
Sometimes I give my details there, and then now I don't know which message to respond to. Lots of compliments and of course problems that I should help them with.
Yeah.
And that gives me with a lot of backlog. I mean, for example, one radio station caters for over 3 million people.
Yeah, man. Sure, that's a lot.
Countrywide, and the other one is over 4 million
That's
people.
a lot, yeah.
So you can imagine the influx of messages that are coming in my inbox.
Yeah. But it's good. But like you always say, it's not hard work, it's hard work.
It's hard to work.
Yes. Mrs. Maz, what's the one thing that really drives you? What's your that really fuels your passion in this work that you do? I don't know. We can call it ministry, right?
Yes,
In all these things we're doing. Yeah.
certainly.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think it's people.
Yeah.
I believe that I'm called for people.
Right.
I often say, so I've got a 9 to 5. I'm in corporate as well.
Sure.
And I often say to my colleagues, look, guys, I'm going to do my work and I'm going to do it with utmost excellence because that's just my standard.
Yes.
But with you guys, this is your purpose because
Yeah.
you could see that the passion is far beyond producing excellence.
Yeah.
It's what they live for because
Yeah.
they don't have anything else
Yeah,
attached
yeah.
to them. But as for me, I have people that are attached to me. I
Right.
believe that each time an individual is born, there's a certain group of people that are attached to you, that they find their purpose through you.
Yeah.
And I think what drives me is, the people's purposes that I have to influence
Yeah.
and that I also have to equip,
Right, right.
And so to me, it's like if I fail, then if God has assigned 1 million people to me, all those 1 million people are going to fail.
Amen, I hear you.
And so if I look at it as that kind of an effect, a domino effect, it then starts with me. It means that I have to stand up each time I fall. I have to rebound each time something happens.
Man,
Resilience has to always be part of me, because once I'm able to get up, I'm affording all those people who are attached to my destiny an opportunity to be restored as well.
Man,
Oh, wow.
it's powerful, but it's pressure as well.
I'm inclined to explaining the word ministry so that
Okay, please do.
we understand that.
Yes, sir.
I'm a therapist,
Yeah.
and one of the original meanings of therapy is to minister
Okay.
medicine to someone.
Minister medicine to someone.
So when you are a minister, you actually mean you are a therapist. Ministry is not a spiritual terminology.
Yeah. Nor is it a church thing.
It's not a church thing.
Exactly.
It's not a Christian terminology. It's a therapeutic terminology, and it's a political terminology.
Interesting. Okay.
When you say you're a minister, you say you are an official in charge of a specific department.
Right,
Okay.
right.
That's how our government is constructed. We have the president who is presiding over the entire country.
Absolutely.
But there are departments.
Yeah.
The president is not directly involved in the department. There is the person who is presiding over the whole department nationwide.
Yeah.
And we call them what?
Ministers.
Ministers.
Yeah.
Minister of Social Development,
Yeah,
Minister of
yeah.
Health, Minister of
This and that, yeah.
Sports, culture. We call them ministers. Not because they are pastors, but because they are officials in charge of a specific department.
Right, right, right.
So if you are maybe an official in charge maybe of a counseling department, you are the minister in that area.
Sure, sure.
If you are an engineer and you are in charge of that department,
Yeah.
you are a minister in that area.
Right.
So we think ministry is opening the Bible and reading, but ministry is being the best at what you do to an extent that you become the voice in that area.
Strong.
Oh, wow.
And
Strong.
then you become in charge in your area or in your discipline or your area of function.
Yes.
Then we can call you a minister.
I love
Wow.
that. I love
I'm
it.
tempted to say you're a teacher as well, listening to you
Oh, absolutely.
explain. He's a teacher,
Absolutely.
ne?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm a lecturer, for goodness sake.
Yeah, it's just
Absolutely.
in you. Before we introduce today's topic, Mdase, do you have the book there?
Yeah. I've got Together Till the End, a Blueprint.
Together till the end.
That's right. A
All right.
Blueprint for Successful Marriage by Lehlohonolo Mazindo. It's out. It's available. You get this book. It's so rich and so powerful. There's a beautiful pic of the
Very
man there in the
beautiful.
front. I love this. Rich in content. This is not a booklet. It's a book.
Incwadi.
Incwadi.
Akudlalwa
Look at it. It's loaded.
Can you guys tell us in your own words, how do you understand marriage to be? We're still in the month of love, February, and you are going to introduce the topic. But before we get there, I want to hear from all of us.
Yeah.
Masambe ngohlobo.
Sihambe nge-row.
Sihambe nge-row.
Sihambe ngolayini, mntase.
Sihambe ngolayini.
Left.
In your own words, what is marriage? How do you define it?
To me, marriage is a fusion
Okay.
of two different entities.
Powerful.
Like when you fuse two metals together,
Yeah.
you get one metal that is representative
Okay.
of the two metals
Yeah.
in one.
Yeah.
Like for example, if you take copper and you fuse it with zinc,
Right.
you get brass.
Yeah.
So we don't have brass out of we can't get brass out of zinc alone.
Right.
We can't get brass out of copper alone.
Wow.
But when we fuse them together, we have one piece of metal that is rich with the characteristics and the traits and the qualities of the two.
Yes, sir.
And then before you fuse them together, you have to melt them.
Yeah.
And when you melt them, you subject them to an excessive heat. You heat them up until they melt.
Right.
When they melt, you fuse them together.
Yes, sir.
And when it dries, they are inseparable.
Sure.
You can no longer take out copper from zinc
Exactly.
or zinc from copper. That is why when you get married whole. And then you become whole with your partner.
Yes, sir.
But when you divorce, you become half.
Hey. Yeah.
Because now it's you fuse together, and then you cannot take back yourself again. You take yourself back full of the other person in you. That is what marriage does.
Yeah.
My wife is a woman. I'm a man. I'm not woman enough to face some of the tasks of life,
Yeah.
and she's not man enough to face some of the tasks of
sir.
life.
Yes, sir.
So we need one thing that has both the qualities of a man and a woman.
Absolutely.
To make us more effective.
Wow, what a
And now-
practical way of
You know what I'm saying?
explaining it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now we got married.
Yeah.
So I'm a
Powerful.
man and a woman,
In one.
and
yeah.
she's a woman in me, and I'm a man in her.
Sure,
When the
powerful.
two become
That's
one.
why. That's why.
Then-
That when the two become one,
Yeah.
not half plus half becomes it's one. It's one and one.
Yeah.
One.
Yeah.
Because I'm a whole man. She's a whole woman, and together we are a whole. We call ourselves couple. We
Yeah.
are a unit.
A
We are
unit,
a
yeah.
union. So some people get married half, and then they look for better halves to complete them. So marriage is not finding someone to complete you.
You must be
Marriage
whole.
is being whole and sharing your life with someone who compliments you and whom you compliment as well.
And who is also whole as well.
Yeah.
Who is also whole.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And by the
Because
way,
when
you-
we enter into marriages as halves, we become needy and we become toxic
Toxic, yeah.
and we become selfish.
codependent.
And then we look out for ourselves and forget that someone we are in a relationship with
Yeah.
is needs looking after as well.
Absolutely.
That is briefly how I can explain
Yeah.
marriage.
Thank you.
And right there, you were touching on chapter number 5 of your book, talking about the fusion of different
Oh
entities.
yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
right there.
I wrote extensively
Yeah.
about the fusion of
Yeah. You
different
see, you need
entities
this
in
book,
chapter
guys. You need this
5.
book. Mrs. Mez, what do you think?
I like the fact that before we proceed with, the topic or what we are discussing today, we started by defining marriage.
That's right.
I feel that it becomes problematic when you cannot define something.
Yeah.
Once you can't define it, you have no understanding. Therefore, you cannot be able to, submit yourself to the rules and regulations of what you cannot define.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so the second you're able to define it, it means that there's agreement, there's direction, there's order. It comes
beauty.
with responsibilities,
Absolutely.
and you adhere to that.
Yeah, yeah.
And so how I define marriage, to me, marriage is something. It's like a companionship, a union that is the start of everything. I've always wondered what UnChristian podcast means. I was like, when I said, is Dumiso, is he against, are we anti-Christ? Are we,
Yes, ma'am.
we against
We
God?
get that a lot, eh? We get that a lot.
But I got the concept,
Yeah.
so I think I can
Yes.
speak within Christian
Yes,
context.
yes,
Absolutely.
So from the faith that I believe, I think not that I think, from where I've sourced this, that the marriage is the beginning of all things.
Yes.
It
Yes.
was
Yes.
the most important institution that was established,
Yeah.
by a superior that we call God.
Amen.
And so because that is the case, I feel that marriage starts a lot of things. And so I also believe that when God created the heavens and the earth, he had everybody in mind.
Yes.
Yes.
When he has everybody in mind, even when you're divorced, that marriage at that particular time served a certain purpose.
Yes, it did.
So to me, marriage is two people coming together and serving a purpose that is far beyond them.
theirs.
Oh, Nkosi yami.
That's
My
very, very
God,
important.
yes.
Beautiful.
I feel that you cannot speak marriage and separate it from purpose as well.
Yeah.
It's purpose from me as a whole person, as my husband has said,
Yeah.
and you as a whole person as well. And we come together, we're able to fulfill both our purposes as whole individuals
Yes.
and as individuals that are in union are now becoming one.
Powerful.
And it's so incredible because in the midst of purpose, even your weaknesses are part of that purpose. Your shortcomings, your flaws are part of that purpose. Your past is part of that purpose. Your thoughts on things, your countenance is part of
Yes.
that. Everything,
Yes.
every fiber in you, every past, every pain, every hurt before, even if your boyfriend before the marriage hurt you, it's part of that purpose. Because what
Amazing.
happens is, if your purpose as a couple is to own a mind, for example, that is purpose.
Yes, yes.
I think sometimes, especially as Christians, we like to take purpose and we narrow it to as long as I'm on the pulpit
Yeah.
or just when I'm preaching.
Yeah.
And that's not just what purpose is.
not.
There are people who are purposed to just own a mind. With those finances, they create jobs.
Yeah.
Jobs means an eradication of poverty. Some of them even go and finance the kingdom.
Yes.
It's purpose. And so you could say, but how is it that a situation where my ex-boyfriend hurt me can actually help me in my purpose in my marriage now by owning a mind. I'm giving you a case study.
Yes.
But if you were, for example, able to be hurt by your ex-boyfriend, move away from the relationship, derive lessons out of that, that alone is a concept that you can use even in business.
Yes.
How to strategize, how to move from, a recession, for example, in the industry, how to gain back clients, how to do something. Everything is a lesson in life. And so
Strong.
where you come from, what you went through, your background, all those things are necessary elements as an individual, a whole individual, to come together with your partner and fulfill purpose.
Sure.
It's like, and you know what's amazing, guys, is that it's incredible that the Lord has a way of, as my husband says, fusing the two of you together. Even if there was one area in your life that was not a strength, but all of a sudden when you come together, you level up in that area. I don't know if you guys don't really preach on your podcast, but I'm not going to preach, but I just want to derive from
Please
scripture
go
here
for
and
it.
there.
Go for it.
There's this scenario in the Bible, and God says to this man called Abram that you're no longer Abram, but you're Abraham, a father of many nations. And he doesn't just walk away from that situation and closes the chapter. He then looks at the wife who's next to him and says, but just by the way, you are no longer Sarai, but you're now Sarah, the mother of many nations.
right.
So when God releases a certain purpose on an individual, whether it's the wife or the husband, he will subsequently add the other person to be part of the purpose.
Oh, man.
So he was
Yes.
not just the father of nations, and then what's going to happen to Sarah?
Yes,
God
yes.
is a God of order. So he
Yes.
has to bring order into it. And so to him but then you also have to follow the purpose and be the mother
Absolutely.
of nations
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
So to me, marriage is all about fulfilling purpose together and having lots of sex. Sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Hallelujah.
I love the last part.
And then my wife said marriage is the beginning of everything, and it's true.
Did you hear? I heard
it's very
that.
true.
That hit.
I mean, prisons are full because marriages are broken.
Yeah, families are
Families
broken.
are broken. I mean, marriage is where we provide, preserve, prepare, and produce their future society and generation.
Right.
And most people are broken because of how their parents treated each other. So it's very much important to understand that sometimes we have to redirect our budgets from prisons to homes and families.
Absolutely.
Because that's
Yeah.
where things
Yeah.
begin.
Yeah.
And earlier I mentioned, I want to elaborate on this a little bit. I mentioned that when the fusion happens, the melting, there's heat. Because that is very important, because when we get married, especially in the first 7 years of the marriage, we get exposed to excessive heat.
I thought it was 5, but
Both
you
of
know,
us.
You taught me it's 7.
Yeah, five to 7. Let's say
Around
5
there.
to
On
7.
an average.
Yeah.
Yeah, on an average. Sometimes it's 3.
Yeah, because research shows that divorce rate is high in the first 5 years, and when people are around the age of 55 going up, because that's the age where the kids leave the house.
Okay.
Yes.
So those 2 points are very high in divorce rates, because
Yeah.
we understand the beginning one, maybe, but the last one, when you spend all your lives just focusing on children and the admin of a home,
Yeah.
and when this is gone, you are left being strangers to each other. You
Yeah,
no longer know
definitely,
each other. Yeah,
definitely.
but please continue.
And psychology says the personality is fully developed. Of course, not all psychology. Personality is fully developed in the first 5 to 7 years of life, because the first determines the rest.
Yes.
The first is where we learn things for what they are.
Yeah.
The rest is when we interpret everything that comes in with what we have learned in the first
Yes,
5
sir.
years.
Yes, sir.
So it's very much important that we understand that even though there's a honeymoon stage in marriage, but when it starts with excessive heat. And that heat is not meant to pull you apart.
Yeah.
It's meant to fuse you together. Without heat, there's no fusion.
Yeah.
There will always
Yeah.
be me, you,
Yeah.
yours, mine,
Yeah.
my bank account, your bank
Yeah.
account, my phone, your
Yeah,
phone.
yeah.
There's not been fusion there.
Right.
And because when you fuse together, you become in sync as a couple. So don't focus too much on being in sync in the first year of marriage. Let it be the goal, but allow the the issues of life
yeah.
to bend you, to shape you, to prepare you. Because when you melt something, it loses its shape.
That's right.
But it doesn't lose its qualities.
Doesn't.
So
Doesn't.
in marriage, sometimes there are shapes that you need to be willing to lose.
Sure.
But never your qualities.
I get you, man. I
And
get you.
then now you gain a new shape within the context of the person that you are spending your life with. I know there's me in this marriage. I think about 10% me. There's 10% my wife.
Yeah.
And there's 80% us.
Us, yeah.
And that's where the strength is in the marriage.
That's powerful.
That's very powerful.
It's very important we started on this note because when we try and define and understand marriage outside of God, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
Because He started this.
Yeah.
It's His idea. It's His. Sometimes I don't like calling it an institution, but it's His institution. It's His covenant.
Yes.
He founded this, so He is the only one who's got rights to determine the terms and the conditions and the terms of reference in marriage, and everything that whose purpose is not understood, abuse of that thing is inevitable.
Yeah.
A marriage is abused, misused. It fails because we don't understand the purpose of this thing. But why are we here? And we're not really here for love, like you said. We're really here for purpose. That's a big conversation that many people don't understand. And so, we can even say that saying I don't love you anymore is not a good enough reason to divorce, because it was not the good enough reason to start in the first place. Yeah. But for me, love, how I understand marriage, I started from the perspective of love, is that I understand love to be when one person is willing to lay down their lives for the development, the improvement, and the betterment of another. That's how I understand love.
Right.
Now, when two people with this mentality come together, this marriage improves, develops, and betters any environment where this marriage is placed.
Right.
You know what? They say
Yeah.
I hear you, and I hear you guys, and I've got an issue though.
Yeah.
my issue is with this mindset that marriage should be hard, just in general.
I hear you. I hear you.
And like a lot of times people are prepared for marriage and they're being prepared for something that is hard.
Yeah.
What is said out there is that prepare yourself for this institution, and this institution is not easy. Listening to you mention that you lay down your life. But anyway, we'll get to the bottom of this as we continue this conversation.
Yeah.
With that being said, what is our today's topic?
Like
I'm not going to define marriage yet.
All right.
I think only towards the end.
You want to wait for it?
Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take bits and pieces of everything that has been said
and
here
create your
and
definition.
create my own definition.
That's smart. Today we are looking at our title is Before You Say I Do. Before You Say I Do. We're going to look at premarital issues, things that you need to have in place in yourself and in your relationship, conversations that must be had before you actually go into marriage in order to make it a success.
Yeah.
It is shown that over 60% of people who are in marriage counseling right now can trace back their issues to their premarital relationship. And so what is it that is being done wrong? What is it that is being misunderstood before marriage that is affecting the issues of our life in marriage, going to forever after or together till the end? Why don't we get to the end? Is what are we doing before? And this of course brings dating, courtship, sex, all these things into to the surface, and we're going to break this down and look at it. But maybe as a nice way to start, tell us about how you guys met.
Ooh, that's 2 episodes.
And what I've learned is that women tell the story better than
Yeah,
us.
they do. We do.
We mess up so many details about how we met, but we'll hear from the both of you about just shortly how you met, where were you in life, and what circumstances produced the mares.
Before my wife speaks, I have to mention that this time around the details are with the men.
That's
Oh
true.
really?
Oh,
Oh really?
He tells it better.
Oh, yeah.
I like that. I like
Yeah.
that. Sure.
He tells it better, and he has got just such a nice, brief way. I just like double, and I go to carry and come back. But I think let him start, and then
Okay.
I'll try and
Sure, go
remember
for it, sir.
anything else.
Okay.
Yeah, I had to be a pastor to meet her.
Okay.
Interesting.
And to fall in love with her, and for her to fall in love with me. Because I was pastoring a church in Velko.
Sure.
And then we were going for an Easter conference with the alliance that we are under. And then it was in Kagiso.
Right here.
Yeah. So it's funny that I was supposed to, the very same weekend, I was supposed to have gone to Bloemfontein to finalize the negotiations of my sister's lobola.
Yeah.
But I just, for some reason, I said my brother will go and represent me.
And when you didn't go.
Because I have to be with my congregation, the church that God has put under my stewardship in the conference. I can't allow them to go through the stress of not having a pastor, even though they have a pastor.
Right.
And then I went there Friday. During the day, our lead apostle there announced that in the evening there's this young woman, the woman of God, powerful, dynamic, who's going to preach.
Yeah.
You just stick around and you will hear her. And she said a lot of things about her. And then I said, okay, fine. It's those prophets and prophetess. I'm not interested.
I'm a Votist.
Little did you know.
Hey.
The God-fearing women who have no fear for God. You know those women.
You're throwing shade now. Come on.
That's what you were thinking.
That's what I was thinking back then. But in the evening, when she entered, I didn't connect her with the preacher.
Sure.
I just saw her. I said, my goodness. Is this the one who's going to break my vow not to get married again?
So you also had a vow.
Yes.
You
yes,
told
I had a
yourself
vow.
never.
I mean, if you didn't get it right the first time around, what are you doing the second time around? Let me find my way and work individually alone. And when she enters, I said, could she be the one? And it happened that she's the preacher.
Yeah.
She was talking about the message Destiny. The title of the message was Destiny Rewritten.
I love this story.
You know what?
Yeah.
I was on my feet the entire sermon.
My goodness.
And people thought I was blessed by the sermon,
Yeah,
by the
yeah,
preaching,
yeah.
which is true.
Yeah.
But I was actually rooting for the preacher.
Come on now.
So I got the
come
preaching
on.
and the preacher at
Yes,
the same
sir.
time.
Yes, sir.
And when she came to like turning close to me here, I said, oh my goodness, what if she says no? And that's why I have the details, because I had the experiences.
Yeah.
When she was preaching, when she was entering,
Amazing.
standing in front of me, I already had a lot of thoughts about her in my mind.
Yeah.
And then after she preached, the congregation that I was pastoring, they came to me. They said, oh my goodness, at least our first lady can speak English.
Yo.
So you were not the only one in love. The entire congregation was in love.
Did you see how eloquently our mother could preach, but with such a great anointing?
Oh wow.
They were so excited about this
I can't believe this.
person. And then they kept on going on, even until late. We slept very late that night. They talking to me. Did you see our first lady?
Yeah,
My
man.
God. You know, if you were a woman, you will be exactly like that. They said a lot of things.
Yeah.
Pressure again.
You know what?
To an extent of saying, "Oh, this is actually the last year we are without Mother's Day
My
celebration
goodness. Yeah.
at church."
The
So
pressure.
the pressure kept on mounting. I didn't sleep that night. Saturday, I was a program director during the day. I preached as a program director. I went to buy a specific.
You had to
perfume.
make sure. Huh?
Yes, I went to buy a specific. You know, when you are in love, you do stupid things. I went to buy a perfume, pour it on myself,
Specifically.
and then I preached.
My goodness.
And then I went deliberately next to her, and when I came next to her, I just turned,
Come on now.
hoping the perfume will.
Yeah, well. Yes.
And then she was sitting there. What is this person doing? He's supposed to be program directing. Look at this idiot. and it was like I was really performing then. But the anointing,
Yeah.
And then I made a joke about myself being the junior apostle. And after the service, she greeted me the first time. She just said, "Junior Apostle."
Yeah.
She walked away and ran out.
Yeah.
Okay. She teased me and then she goes. At least she didn't say no.
Yes, sir.
And then Sunday we spoke for the first
Yeah,
time,
yeah.
and we just talking, and I think I was very, very, I don't know what, girly in my expressions.
Okay,
So you're very
okay.
nervous.
Yeah.
You're acting out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, truly. You need to understand the reason why you end up with the wrong man is that you go for these confident ones who know how to say their stories. But when a man is truly in love,
He trips up his words.
their brains
he
forget
messes
to be
up.
confident, they forget to be smart,
Yes,
they
sir.
forget to be intelligent,
Yeah.
they just
I
become
love this.
absolute idiots. So if you're looking for a man who's really, really in love, look for a man who can be an idiot
Yeah.
when you're around.
Oh, wow.
That's what I was. And then what happened? They called us the lead apostle. They called us with the other pastor, who was one of the seniors, and then they gave me an honorarium.
Okay.
They gave an honorarium, and they gave me an honorarium for
Right.
being a MC.
Yes.
And then after that, the lead apostle said to me, "Please give me your hand." And I put my hand like this, and she took my wife's hand.
Yeah.
Then she was pastor in demand, and then she put her hand on top of mine,
Yes, like it.
and she said, "Lehlohonolo is
You've been looking for a while.
you've been looking for a wife, and Phindile, you've been looking for a husband." And then he said to the other pastor, how is it? Amen.
Yeah.
And we didn't know what
The
to do and
agenda.
what to say.
So kuvuma amazulu.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Kwavuma amazulu apha,
What
I'm
is this?
telling
I
you.
was so embarrassed.
Which one
I was
is this
so
one?
like, it looks like I'm winning,
But
but
we're
what if I'm
making it
losing?
easy for you, Moses.
You know what?
Yeah, they were making it easy. And then when we left, she will explain how she felt when we left. The moment that we left. Maybe you can talk about that, and then I can talk about the next day, or maybe you can talk about the next
likes
day
this
and the
topic.
day.
Yeah,
after
he
that.
likes it that. But what I'd like you to start is, what was your impression of him, your first impression of
Yeah.
him, from the emceeing to the chat? Sunday?
To the preaching, to the chat.
Yes.
I, on the other hand, was on the other side of the spectrum.
Oh, my.
And he was not my type, first of all.
Okay.
I didn't even notice him. He didn't even exist to me. It was I saw him on the pulpit. My first encounter with him was when he was on the pulpit and he was an MC. Despite his efforts of trying to win me over, I was so irritated. I
Oh,
was
my.
like, how could you be so disrespectful?
Ish.
Enter the podium as an MC and decide to preach.
Preach.
I don't want to associate myself with such people who've got such utter disorder in my life. This is a mess. What is wrong with this guy? Those were my thoughts when he was emceeing. And then I was like, but I know why he's doing this. It's because I preached yesterday. Usually when I preach at a
Yeah.
conference and I'm the only woman,
Yeah.
men tend to do this.
I
You know,
see,
I was like,
I
oh, so
see.
you're trying to score a point.
I
And
see.
I was sitting there in my head, because you're trying to score a point, really? How dare you? And why are you even preaching like that? Why? Please. And this is me in my head. I was probably bobbing my head and I didn't even see myself. And I really didn't take notice of him
Yeah.
until he sat down after the Sunday when they were introducing that book actually together till the end. And then that lead apostle said, oh, look, ladies, he's now single. You know, situation happened, he's single, but please try not to flood his inbox.
Yeah.
And so I was sitting next to the apostle's wife, the first
Yes,
lady,
yes,
and I
yes.
was joking. Not
Yeah.
that I had anything, you know,
Yeah.
interesting that I found about
Yeah.
him. And I said, so does that mean I can't come into his inbox as well? But it was a joke. And Mfundisi was like, and then he just looked at him and goes, don't worry, he probably knows what to do. And he just left it, because to me it was a joke. I honestly
Yeah.
didn't have feelings for
Yeah.
him, because
Yeah.
at the time I think I was at a verge of a breakup with this guy, and
Yeah.
I was tired. I mean, and I think it was 2 years after my divorce, and you know, I feel like I was attracting people that just wanted to hit and run.
I see.
So to me, it was not easy for me to open up to a man, because to me
yeah.
it was, this is another hit and run. And I just ignored the whole situation. I saw him on the Sunday, we did the jokes and whatever. And I remember this one time, because you know Easter conference, so there's that service, there are breaks, we are all over the vicinity. And at this one point, I was almost at the gate, I was standing with some babazalana, and he comes over and he starts talking to me, and he was girly and his hands were like, I'm like, and he's like, and I don't want to use the word because I have to protect the platform, but he was very, I think you get me.
Feminine
Yeah,
in his
too
tone.
feminine. And
Yeah.
I was like, are you straight? Which there's nothing wrong, but I wanted to find out. And so he's like, yeah, so, I got divorced. I'm like, I know, I understand. It makes sense. Makes sense why you're divorced. And he's standing there and he's just talking with his hands and he's so good and feminine. I'm like, my goodness, guy, you need to go to a man's school. Is there a man's school where can you stop being so feminine? Are you feminine or what's going on with you?
Yeah.
And I just found that a bit too much for me, I suppose. And to me, it was a brother in the Lord. I'm grateful. And he's like, yeah, no, we'll connect. I'm in Welcome. I was like, yeah, wonderful. And it was just nice, to meet him. And I don't think anything of him after that. It was like, okay, good riddance to bad. And my life continued. Funny thing, the next moment I remember about him was when they were actually leaving the vicinity with the church and he was driving.
Yeah.
Oh, King of Glory. He came with this, because I was standing by the gate with this apostle and he's like, no, let's say bye to everybody, and whatever. And we were standing there and he was parked the other side. So I didn't know his car. Honestly, I didn't even care to know that he's got a car. It's none of my business.
Yeah.
But then he came and then I saw this car and he was in the car. And
he was driving.
This is a German machine.
Come on now.
This is my car. And I was like, no, but this is not right. Why? And now I noticed them, and I'm not materialistic, dude. So no, sissy, I'm not. But this car had my attention, and it just happens to be in this car.
Come on.
I have a thing for cars, so it's very detailed. And you drove it. I'm like, oh Lord, just maybe,
Smart
Father God,
artist.
are you saying something to me? And so then he said the goodbyes in the car. He had the window down and he drove off. My goodness, it's like he drove off with my heart. And I remember saying to myself, is this man really going to leave me in Gauteng and drive
My
off?
goodness. Oh my goodness.
And that was such a weird statement because the whole time I couldn't notice him. I don't know if it's the car or whatever, or God, but and I said to myself, why is he leaving me? And it was just such a sorrowful feeling,
Wow.
NgesiZulu sithi, "Izungu, kwaba
Izungu,
nesizungu,
yeah.
kwaba kubi nje," and I couldn't understand, and I
get
stood
you.
there
I
and
get
he
you.
drove off and there was a tear in my heart and I'm like, no, this can't be. Change your focus, woman of God, poise, demeanor, come back to yourself.
Yes, ma'am.
Composure and all, you got this, and back to him.
Oh wow.
And on our way back to Welcome, some of the people, we made a few stops and
Of
we
course.
said, oh my goodness, we can't wait for our first lady to come home.
Yeah.
And they kept on talking like that. And then later on, I sent her a friend request on Facebook.
Facebook, yeah.
Okay.
It was on Sunday. Monday, no acceptance.
That was so deliberate.
The whole day.
I see you go. Yeah, I see you.
I have my composure, so I have to.
My heart. My heart.
Ish.
But before that, let me speak to Amajit that like your soulmate thinks you're irritating. But it depends on what you drive. Okay, back to the story.
The car will save you.
Please be careful of the car you're driving because that could be your only savior.
And it was
at
in
the
white,
time.
and I'm not a white car person, but that one was in white, and it really appealed
And
to me.
the color doesn't matter. Just get it right on the car. So the whole Monday, I didn't sleep well Monday evening. I thought, all this vibe and the appreciation and the excitement in my heart and in the congregation that I lead for nothing. Tuesday morning, hi man of God, it was good to meet you.
Oh, is it
Inbox.
Tuesday
okay?
night.
She
You
said-
accepted.
I eventually did.
I didn't
Okay.
know
Yeah.
she accepted.
Okay.
I was trying to put myself at ease there. Whatever almost happened.
Yeah.
And then I saw it in inbox and it's Phindile, UnChristian demand. I know the names and I know all of them. I know the picture. Man of God, it was good to meet you. The conversation started in the morning around 8.
Yeah.
It ended around 4.
The whole day.
When
you
she
were
had
just
to
here.
knock off from
You were
work.
just here.
Yeah. We were like, it was just like that. Like the atmosphere around me was charged.
Yeah.
And that
I know
was
that
Tuesday
feeling.
then. And then sometime in April, the next month, I drove to like Randfontein, where the lead apostle is staying, and she was there for a weekend.
Oh, I see.
And I went there to see, and I said to the apostle,
Did you know she was there?
Yeah, no,
Yes.
it's planned. He
yes.
planned it.
I
yeah.
see.
No. So he didn't get to the part where then we sort of officiated things on that day.
Okay.
And he was like, I see a Y in the atmosphere. He was all being prophetic, and I see God and
did
an
you have to
E
go
and
there?
an S, and it's a yes in the spirit. And I was
Yes.
like, no, this is it, Lord. And now you're talking to me, And we sort of officiated things
Sure.
on that Tuesday, but
Lovely.
with a lot of reservations, I must
Oh,
say.
wow.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
but we became lovers on that Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Nice.
that Tuesday.
Yes. And then
But at least it was not a one night stand, guys. So
Yeah.
No,
we
you
can't-
know what I'm saying.
and then we would talk throughout the night.
Yeah, man.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I mean, we used to
The
use-
Vodacoms.
Ish, man.
1 hour.
Those
No,
1
no,
hour.
Yes, yes,
My
yes, yes.
friends.
You made use of them.
Yeah, it was such an electrifying moment. And then we went, announced myself. I went there with, I actually it was Sunday. Just after I preached at church, I drove, and then I was wearing a mustard. What do we call that? Is it
Jersey. Yeah.
And that was not the color that I should have been wearing.
Okay.
All the design.
All the
all the
design.
pants.
And the pants.
Everything
terrible.
was wrong. Everything was wrong.
I was like, am I really marrying this
I
guy?
had to pick up those clothes.
man.
Anyway, okay, I went, and then now we announced ourselves, and then on the 7th of May, I was a guest speaker in one of the events there in Velkom.
Okay.
I was in the panel of speakers.
Yeah.
She decided to come over
Ah.
just to support me from Pretoria,
Oh, man.
taking a bus from Pretoria
You know what I'm saying?
to
Ish.
Velkom.
Yeah.
The person who was irritated by me now is coming to support me. So I went there with my team and I introduced all my team except her.
Ish.
Okay.
I was furious. Oh, can I just say? Because I was a servant of God.
You know what?
And
You're
that
not
nerve
just.
of
Yeah.
this guy standing there not acknowledging me.
Oh,
I was fuming. I just wanted to give you that.
And because now I didn't acknowledge her, I didn't say anything about her, and I'm doing the talk.
Matata.
Honestly, I was not concentrating on the talk. I was really not concentrating. I think that could have been the worst talk of my life, actually. And I didn't even finish what I was trying to say, and I just said, man, to hell with this talk. Let me do what I'm here for. And then I stopped. I introduced her. She came all the way from Pretoria.
And I was
all
like,
those
it's
things.
about time.
About that time you do that.
And then I called her to stand here next to me. And then while she was standing and people were listening, I went down on my knee,
What?
took out a ring.
What?
I'm
I mean, the
Phindile.
audiences, like the people who were sitting down, it was like a huge wave coming towards me.
That's a beautiful romantic
So
story,
much-
though.
so
Wait a
much
minute. I remember
noise.
this event. I remember this
You
event.
remember?
Yeah,
You remember
I remember the event. I know what you're talking about.
I mean,
Yeah.
I know the story from.
It was
Yeah.
like this.
I
people
know
coming
this event.
like
Yes,
this.
yes.
And now the pressure. Will you marry me?
So you had already bought the ring and okay. You know what?
I knew even the size.
Okay. Hi, when
Hey, why not?
There was a time when I went to one of the shops with her, and then we just took, just as if we are sort of
Yes.
fantasizing
Yes,
about
yes.
getting married. But I took her size, so it was the exact size. And then I proposed.
So she
and
didn't know that you were.
No, she didn't
all.
know.
But for this, you are so romantic.
Oh my goodness!
I hope you guys are learning out there. Honestly, you know what? I like the fact that as we continue this conversation, we're already on
Oh, yeah, we're already
Yes.
touching
on
a lot.
before you say I do, because already now I've taken note that you should be busy with something.
Yes.
You should not be focusing on I want to
Trying
get
to
married.
find
Yes.
somebody.
Yes.
You should be busy with something.
Yeah, definitely.
Go on.
We find the right people when we are not looking for them. Yeah. So okay, let me pass. And
Yeah.
now she said yes.
Okay.
Hey,
Put on the ring, and then now who's going to talk after me? After that vibe, you know. So no, all of us were not there anymore. And then at the end of the session, I gave her a letter from my delegation.
right, the
Nam
family
Fundisi.
letter. Yes.
Because I didn't want her to show up with a ring.
With a ring.
and It's only a ring.
And this is very important. This is what I want to say in terms of engagements and proposals. This is the right way.
Yeah, definitely.
You-
And
you-
don't
your intentions must be clear. This
Yeah.
thing of 2-year engagement, 3-year engagement, and the family is just like waiting. And then, kabona ring mara,
Intentions.
your intention
Must
must
be
be
yeah,
clear.
and some of the people, especially Majita, they mess up in their relationships
Yeah.
and they want to apologize with a ring. That's why you get rejected in a
see.
mall full of people.
Ish.
Because now you're not actually intending to marry, you are
And
apologizing.
she can see it.
So if you've put a ring of engagement, let it go with the letter. I think it's the right thing
It's
to
the right
do.
thing,
It
bruv.
is.
I gave her the letter. It was the 7th. I said, tell your delegation that in 2 weeks we are coming.
Hi, wena.
So from
25
meeting in
March.
Kagiso to welcome proposal, how long
But,
was
but
this?
25 March was when we met in Kagiso,
Yeah.
and then the proposal of the 7th,
7th
of
of May.
May.
7th of
It was,
May.
it was slightly less than 2
Yes,
months.
yes, yeah, just almost 3 months. Yeah.
Yes.
You knew what you wanted,
Yeah.
brother.
Yeah, it's not even like I knew, but I only knew what I wanted when I saw her. Sometimes you don't know what you want until it's there.
Until it's
you meet
there.
it.
Because God will not give you the things you want. He will give you the things you didn't know you wanted.
Yes.
You need to understand.
Yeah,
That. This is the woman I didn't know I wanted.
sure.
At that time,
And-
you're busy pursuing his purpose.
I was busy pursuing God's purpose, and I had to forget about everything else. And my only goal was to change her surname and to marry her.
Wow.
So 2 weeks later, we went with the delegation. It was the 21st of May, my late mother's birthday. And then my father was there.
Okay.
And then he was driving.
Interesting.
I was sitting behind.
Yeah.
And when we arrived,
Oh, before they arrived,
Yeah.
I never thought they were actually going to arrive.
oh yeah.
Okay.
You didn't trust them.
No, I didn't. And this is because we're in premarital. This is one of the things that once you're in a relationship with somebody, oftentimes you're going to sort of derive a framework from your previous
Yeah,
relationships and try
yeah.
to fit this person in there.
I get you.
And that happens subconsciously, unfortunately, It's something that you don't obviously have a control over. You're not even aware of,
Yeah,
but it happens.
yeah. Hey.
And because I was so used to the hit and runs that I told you guys earlier about, I thought this was another hit and run. But this hit and run went a little bit further. Yes, there's an engagement ring, there's a letter, and they're apparently coming today, but I still couldn't trust them, because trusting that would mean I'm letting my guard down.
Yeah.
Letting my guard down means that I'm putting myself in a position of vulnerability to be hurt by another
Absolutely.
man. After a divorce and after being hurt by several men, you don't want that.
You don't.
And so I'm asking to eat bad during teen, but
Yeah.
then all these men are all servants of God. So there was a very clear, distinctive pattern,
Yeah.
because even my ex-husband was a pastor, and all these
Yeah.
pastors were breaking my heart, and he's a pastor. So
Yeah.
I couldn't let my guard down. So that, first of all, it's a good trait to have.
Yeah.
That don't trust easily, be very careful, but it can also be a weakness because sometimes you will throw away or push away a person that is actually the right one.
I
Now,
get you.
I'm going to be frank because I'm very frank when I speak. Look,
Absolutely. Go for it.
this is an UnChristian podcast, so
Yeah.
I'm still trying to find the meaning of that. but I'm tongue speaking. I'm one of those that, Jola CB and all
Yeah,
those
yeah,
things.
yeah.
I'm like old school, right?
Yeah.
But I'm very frank about certain situations. I loved sex.
Yeah.
It's a very beautiful thing.
Right.
I've got a very high libido, and, that's how I was. And I slept with these men, even though, to me, in my belief, it was wrong for me to sleep
Sure.
with them because we were not married. But
Yeah.
I slept with them, And so it was becoming culture that it's the servant of God. He meets me somewhere, I'm preaching, or he has invited me, or whoever, and we have, not all of them, because now I don't want somebody to go, did you
To-
sleep
to your
with my
history. Yeah, to go in.
was this my, no. They were single.
Yeah.
They were single guys they were not married. But, there was prospects. And some of them, it was like, you get into a relationship, they sleep with you, there are problems. And I was usually the one to walk away because I didn't want to find myself in a situation where a man left me.
Yes.
So I
Yeah.
had to have the upper hand. When I see mistakes, I was not even willing to focus on fixing them. It was like, let me rather save myself.
Yeah.
But that's also important because
Yeah.
sometimes we sit in toxic relationships. Sometimes it's okay to walk away. I mean, I was not married, so it was okay. And so there was that trait of, pattern of, you get in a relationship and then you have sex and then they're sort of gone or you go, whatever. And I almost lost this current relationship because I wanted him to sleep with me. Because my mind was conditioned to that.
To that
He's
it-
going
that's
to
how
sleep
it's
with
gonna
me,
happen, yeah.
So I might as well present myself to him.
Sure.
And then it's a done deal. Then I see how long this relationship is going to last.
Sure. Sure.
It's painful.
Wow.
It's issues that we have to actually address because they're
That's-
actually
Absolutely.
happening. And it was so bad. So to me, I knew that he slept with me. So at some point he has to leave me. or he's gonna leave me. Okay, fine. So he's proposed. Okay, maybe he's going the extra mile, but I still don't trust him. There's a letter. People are coming. I see the tent, Pegile Kaya, with 3 foot and all, but I still don't trust him. To a point that I had to devise a story in my head that in case it does not come, I'm gonna tell the delegation at home and all the people from my mom's church and all my aunts that, oh well, Mkoyan when he died in a car accident.
Ish.
Oh man.
Just to save face,
Yeah, of course, because I'm not going to go through this again.
Yeah.
And that's how the situation was. So when he kept calling, I'm like, he's lying. I've had these situations where somebody was calling and, it's the ladies at the altar and there's no man or vice
My
versa,
goodness, yeah.
And so I still didn't trust them until I saw the car drive in. And I had to put all my guards down and go, actually, this is real.
There's something so important I want us to unpack here. O men of God, Tina, we're problematic.
100%.
100% right.
I'll be. We have to be frank about this.
Yes.
I have heard this over and over and over again. Girls in the church and outside the church saying, "I will marry all of them, but hayi umfundisi."
Yes.
Not a man of God, not a church brother. What are we doing? And I know we're messing up. We are dishonest.
Yep.
We're hurting these girls. We are hopping from one relationship to another in the church.
Yep.
Let us talk about this problem. Why is this the case?
Sorry, Mfundi, sorry. Can I
Go for it.
xa ndijongile mna, I honestly don't think I think it's the society we grow up in
Yeah.
that has instilled that men are the prize and we as women we get to wait for somebody to come and propose to me, and we need to move away from that because we are the prizes as women. We are the prize.
I still believe that too. Yeah.
Yeah, we are the prize. And if we could move away from that, and as we raise our girls, being a mother to girls, raise our girls in that understanding that you are the prize,
Yes.
you are whole. Yes, you are not perfect, but you're whole. And should a man be interested in you, he must pursue you in this manner up until he gets your hand hand in marriage.
Sure.
So I think it's the society that we live in. It's the church that we come from.
Yeah.
It's the pressure that we get as women, because I, for one, got a lot of pressure when I was now 29, not married. It was abo mama ukuthi. I mean, there was even conferences, a lot of conferences where we are taught as women how to be wives.
Yeah.
What is submission? The expectation that you must submit. And the question that I always had growing up was, as a young lady in this case, was okay, if there's all these conferences preparing me to be a wife, where I don't see a lot of conferences preparing men to be husbands,
Yeah.
and therefore it put us in a position whereby ingati we are desperate. In
I
fact,
see.
automatically we're just in that position because of all of those things happening.
I get you.
Yeah, and when men think they are the prize now, it puts them in a position to play around with
power.
It gives them that.
I
So we
get you.
need to change that narrative.
We as men of God or church brothers, whatever you call it, whoever is in some kind of position of influence and power, we've got this predatory behavior. We are there in the church scouting already for the prey, and we can be in multiple relationships with these girls. Some know, some don't know. But this, fundamentally, and I agree with you that ladies make themselves vulnerable to that, but fundamentally, we have got predatory behavior that we have got to sort out,
Yes.
right?
I mean, it's abusing power. Sorry, Nunu. It's abusing power, and I think it's you guys have got an ego.
Yeah.
It's an innate, element that you possess as men.
Yeah.
And such behavior actually rubs, or rather, it feeds that ego.
Get you.
How many women can I get? How many can I sleep with? I've tasted the yellow bones, maybe the dark one, the thin one, the one with the more curves.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it becomes a game to you. Where and how can I score? And it's rather unfortunate, and also because I think society. I think you guys come in with a mentality that society has actually put out there that a man. All these things that we're taught.
Monokoko means you can just explore and have
Exactly.
Do a lot of
you know.
things, multiple babies.
And others will even back it up with scripture. They'll talk about
Yeah, but
Solomon and the wives and
Yeah,
the
but
concubines, and others will go. But remember that scripture said, you know, bishop one wife. So I'm not a bishop. I'm not intending to be a bishop. So I'm practicing how you like to have. It's a lot of things that go with that. It's the upbringing.
Yeah,
it's
man.
sometimes what
Yeah,
you saw
man.
from your father in the household of the males, you know, that you lived in. What the behavior was.
Yeah.
And I think overall it's just the inability to control your sexual desires.
Yeah.
You have to be able to pull up your zip by yourself. You
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
have that control over it. You have to, I mean, Job says, I made a covenant with my eyes not to look at another woman. You have to have that self-discipline. You can't go after every skirt that passes by.
Eish.
You can't toy with people's feelings,
Yeah,
you know, to
yeah,
that nature.
yeah.
It's an element of discipline and understanding who you are as well.
Yes. My former pastor, Apostle Mohau Ramil in Bloemfontein, used to say, ladies love heroes.
Yeah.
And that's true. Ladies are attracted to influence and power.
Yeah.
You'll find the most unclean, most not good-looking guy in the church. But if he's the one playing the keyboard, yeah,
Yeah.
but
So we can't just before we can't just put, you know, the men under the microscope.
Yeah.
You know, it's the ladies as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, it's the who can get him first, you know, and you know that other one wants him and he wants him or whatever. And that's the situation that we had in our previous church, because when that we pastored in Valcom, when we got there, it's like as if they knew, even though they thought they were happy that something was gonna, you know, transpire between the two of us, they were actually not, because now it became a point of competition to them, you know, who's gonna get him first, what is happening.
goodness.
And I think I want to really address this before, you know, Nunu takes over. Sorry, my husband. We're doing bedroom matters now. and I want to say that a predator, and I like the fact that he used that word, is able to, they can smell vulnerability from afar.
Yes.
Desperation and vulnerability. And that's what I was. I'm going to be honest, and we have to address this because this is premarital. Women, stop being desperate and being vulnerable for marriage.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Because with or without your surname changed, with or without a ring, you are still somebody powerful and important.
Yes.
And you can still make your mark without your surname being changed.
Yes.
You can still make your mark without somebody marrying you, you know. And because we fail to conceptualize this, we fail to, you know, embed it in our subconscious, we end up walking around desperate and vulnerable for the next man of God, the next hero to marry me so that I can become somebody. They can smell vulnerability from afar. And because we are walking around in churches, single women and vulnerable everywhere, it's easy for them to play around. You become a playground. It's another game for them. So we need to stop being desperate and we need to stop being vulnerable.
Wow.
And this is gained through knowing who you are, having confidence and self-esteem in the purpose that you have. What we explained earlier, that you are a whole person by yourself.
Yes.
And you are enough by yourself. And so you can establish yourself as you are without a husband, without Umfundisi Sbanbani or Dr. Smama. Become the doctor yourself, you know. If you're not even called as a pastor, as a woman, then find something in the church that you can do. Establish your own territory, you know. And when the man finds you, he finds you whole. But if you're going to become vulnerable and desperate, they will smell that from afar. You'll become preyed, they'll pounce on you. And by the time you realize they're gone, they've left you pregnant, they are demanding abortions out of you, they've destroyed your life
In the church.
you know. And who's going to leave the church? It's not going to be the man of God. No one's going to believe the man of God over you. You're the one that's going to be destroyed. The next thing, you're blaming God, you're blaming Christ, you're blaming the church, you're blaming every pastor and whatever. And as much as it's these pastors' fault, some of these women, it's their fault as well. And you need to look inwardly and just make sure that you know yourself and you find yourself in a position where not every man of God is your man of God. And if we're gonna, you know, bring purpose into marriage, it doesn't mean that every crucial wife role is a wife as umamfundisi. You know, not necessarily. Your husband could be someone in the church who's starting off in life and he doesn't have it all together, but he's a car wash person, you know, and then he's trying to study on the side. If you can merge those two purposes together, become a supportive wife, you will be amazed at what that man can do in 5 years. And he can own 50 car washes that even make more money than umfundisi that you are running after. That was never yours in the first place, you know. Another thing that I realize is that when we look at, and this was me, I'm honest, I'm a person that can put myself under the microscope. I don't have a problem, you know. I used to think that every man that comes along has to be my husband. So this one has failed, so the next one that comes, it has. And then I was shocked that why I didn't have the same sentiments when it comes to my husband. To him, it was a writer from the start. But I think before then it was, you know, he's, okay, that one failed, so this one has to be the one. Not every man that crosses your path is a potential husband.
I made the same error.
Right.
Because I got to a point in my life. Sorry, so we keep on saying we're coming to. I promise.
We are gonna come.
I promise. We come.
Oh, no,
I'm
actually listening and learning here, and I'm enjoying the conversation.
I made the mistake of saying the next one that I date is gonna be my wife.
Yeah.
And so what I did, I would invest heavily in a relationship that sometimes God had not sanctioned yet, that went wrong, and the hurt, disappointment was deep.
Right.
So I agree with you.
Yeah.
You can't always say the next one, and it's something I learned in church.
Yeah.
To say, don't date,
Yes.
date for marriage. I understand why they say that,
Yeah,
because when you play around with dating and all of that, it's dangerous. You get hurt.
Of course.
I understand the purpose behind that teaching, but it also caused a problem because now I found someone had feelings, and the next thing I'm planning the wedding in my mind,
Yeah.
and it doesn't go their way,
Yes.
and then I get hurt. So I fully get what you're saying.
The thing is, when you keep on treating the next one that comes as a potential husband, they will rearrange your heart to an extent that the potential husband will be treated like the ones that came.
Yeah, who the real one is treated like the previous.
Like the woman at the well who rejected Jesus because of the six other men who broke his heart.
Yeah.
So she almost rejected the Savior because she looked at the Savior with the lenses that are full of the pain that has been brought by the men in the past. There are three things that I wanted to say.
Go for it. Okay.
On the other hand, with my wife, I begged her. I said, please, no matter how much I beg or how desperate I am, don't agree to have sex with me.
And to me, that said, this man doesn't love me. This is confusing. It shocked my entire system.
Wow.
Because I'm not used to this. He has to sleep with me. And we
This is the
argued.
norm.
We literally argued. And I almost broke up with him because of that. Because I couldn't. It can't be. You're going to break up with me. So we might as well start this whole process, have sex, and then we are done. And then I will go cry, pray, fast, repent, get back on track, and then next.
Yes.
And that is a cycle that happens with a lot of people.
Wow.
Yeah. And obviously, I was the first man to say that. I begged her. I said, please don't. Don't. Even if I can have blue balls, let them turn gray if they have to. Don't become a wife to me before I become your husband. Many women make this mistake. They become wives to boyfriends. And obviously, I mean, if you sell a cow and the only thing I need is a milk. And I said to you, give me the milk, I will buy the cow. And you keep on giving me the milk every time I need the milk. And you ask me, when are you buying the cow? I'm saying soon. Just give me the milk.
Yeah.
When will I buy the cow? When I can get the milk without the cow. The cow means I have to feed it.
Yes.
I have to clean up after it. I have to make sure that it's healthy. Like, it's high maintenance.
Yes.
How can I get, why should I get a high maintenance cow when I can get the milk for free from the same cow?
Yeah.
So this same applies. Women tend to give men the benefits of a wife before men make them their wives. And then they'll keep on asking, when are you going to marry me? The guy will say, soon. Can you please come and cook? Can you please come and clean? The house is dirty. Let's have sex. All those things the man is getting from someone who's not the wife. Why would he make you a wife if you are already one without becoming one? So that's what I was trying to protect my wife from. I said, if you have sex with me, I'm going to lose the motivation to marry you.
To make this happen.
That's why I married her so fast.
Yes.
Because I saw her the 25th of March, the 7th I proposed, the 21st I paid Lobola in full. 2 September 2016, the same year, we signed it, Home Affairs. The 29th, we celebrated the 29th of October, we celebrated our wedding. So I met her I saw her for the first time. For the first time, I knew someone like her existed on the 25th of March, 2016.
Get you.
On the 29th of October, we were celebrating our wedding, and we had already been married. Yeah, so that's how it happened.
Yeah.
Number two, what I wanted to talk about is the question that you asked about pastors.
Yeah.
I've noticed a trend over the years that, yes, pastors are out of line.
Yeah.
Most cases, most of the pastors, because most of the pastors don't go for formal training. Let's look at this. Look at every pastor
strong.
that you know who's gone through a formal training. You can mention their names. I know the Bishop Daniel Makutswan. He's been through a training. He's been with one wife since I started knowing him in 1996.
So you've seen a correlation in the behavior and the training.
And the training,
Lack
the
of
formal
training.
training. Because if a man can go through it, formal training teaches you discipline.
My goodness.
It teaches you to stop procrastinating. It teaches you self-control.
Goodness.
I want to go and drink, but I should submit an assignment.
Sure.
It grounds you. It trains you to have specific principles.
My goodness.
Even though I didn't have formal training as a pastor, I had formal training in psychology.
Yes.
I mean, I had 2 degrees in psychology when I met her. Those studies, being able to think critically, reasoning and linking behaviors to consequences, and that molds a man.
Wow.
And the worst thing that has happened to pastoral fraternity is neglecting going to study, to school.
Never thought of
because you don't acquire the principles that are needed to be a disciplined man.
Yeah.
I like my father in the Lord, who is the lead apostle of the alliance where we met.
Yeah.
He said to me, I know you have degrees and we have installed you as a pastor, but we are not going to ordain you until you come with a qualification as a pastor.
My goodness.
But what do we do now? I like you, I ordain you. So we have a lot of ordained but untrained pastors.
We're giving the pulpit too easily.
Yes.
Too easily.
And we have populated the pulpit with virus, the men who cannot be disciplined. You can't even study the Bible. You Google the messages. You imitate a certain preacher, and to give the people an illusion of the same anointing that the person has. No morals, no discipline, no. I mean, you go into that person's house. How so aluli over the past, they cannot even make their beds. And they teach you these things in the Bible college. They teach you how to be humble, how to be disciplined, how to witness, how to take care of yourself, how to do chores and activities, how to cook, how to serve.
Sure.
I mean, a friend and sister of mine was graduating in Rustenburg many years ago. I mean, the first years were already in green gowns. I was laughing at them. Those people are wearing green gowns. They were running around like angels, serving. I mean, I think they use a language. I'm not sure if they use it. Bounce masad.
Yeah.
Like they really train you there.
Yeah, they grill you.
So the problem is, the church is the only army that releases the soldiers that have not been trained. Those are, I don't want, it's not the pastors. The pastors who have been trained, 90% of them don't have issues with the women. The women issue, last issue, and all those things. It's all these untrained ones.
Because what we don't realize, this thing, the mic, it's power.
Yes.
The pulpit, the podium is power.
Yes.
You give such a person that you've just described a mic and a pulpit, you don't realize you are giving them power.
Definitely.
And they're
And
going to
authority.
use it or misuse it depending on their character. It's not just a sermon. It's not just a nice preach. It's not just a mic. It's
authority.
power and authority.
That's why Paul says it's not even about wisdom. It's not about eloquence. Paul mentioned that in the Bible. It's very clear. There's something I remember back in the years, there's a young lady who prophesied to me. He said, God said I should tell you that he's going to bring your character up to the level of your gifting.
Wow, strong.
I was initially offended. What do you mean? But I think it was the most profound prophecy that I've ever received. Because sometimes the gift is in heaven.
Yeah.
The character is in hell. And then God can still use you
Yeah.
if it's God using you.
Yeah, if it's
Because God, the gifts of God are irrevocable.
Yes.
The fact that you can raise the dead, it doesn't mean you can take care of a child.
Goodness.
It doesn't mean you can protect a wife. I mean, we need to understand those things. Even their churches are toxic. Because they don't know anything. They are not grounded. They are not rooted.
Yeah,
they don't
man.
even know church history or
Yeah.
anything. They don't even know how to conduct a research.
Right.
They can't even do need-based interventions. They can't do need analysis. I mean, they are clueless.
Sure.
The only thing that they know is, and Jesus wept. And after and Jesus wept, they preach a powerful sermon. Guys, let's not be blinded by the anointing or the gift
gifting.
and think, the halo effect. I think I spoke about it.
You did, yeah.
The halo effect, it means when you are good at one thing, people assume you are good at everything.
Yeah.
I spoke about that in the previous podcast.
Yeah.
So if you are good at playing the keyboard,
Yeah.
they immediately assume you are good as a husband. When you are good at preaching, they say you are good as a father, as a husband. And then we need to check, okay, the preaching box is checked, but I don't need a preacher in the house. I need a husband.
The man.
One other thing that we do as men, we need women, but we make women think they need us.
Shh.
I read the Bible from Genesis to Revelation several times. I've never once come across the verse that says it's not good for a woman to be alone.
Never.
But I did see the verse that says it's not good for a man to be alone.
It goes back to what we said. She is the prize.
Yes,
She is the prize.
yes,
Like
that's
Nandi
where
was
I'm
saying.
going. That's
Yeah.
exactly what I'm trying to say. Women need to know their power. I mean, I cannot manage my home without my wife. I
Yeah.
mean, she knows, she can tell that better. I can't even begin. I mean, I can't even choose a curtain. I can't. If I stay alone, I only wash the dish that I need at the time, eat from it, and take it back to the sink.
Yeah.
Women can survive on their own. Enter into an apartment where there's only a woman there.
Yeah.
And enter into an apartment where there's only a man.
Yeah.
You'll find matrasinyana fatimani, le ashtray,
Yeah.
and then a fridge
Yeah.
with the 2 dumpies,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then a TV,
Yeah.
and then the super sport 4 fair. It's not homey.
It's not homey.
They become miserable
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
But there's not much of a difference between a woman who's married and a woman who's not.
Yes.
In terms of how they take care of their apartment,
I get you.
in terms of how
Yeah.
they take care of themselves.
Yeah, yeah.
That is why women are glowing when they are single, and then they are wrinkling when they are
I
married.
get you. And you know what?
Myself excluded.
So it is not good for it's not good for a man to be alone, but the woman is better alone.
She can do.
She's better.
She's Alone.
She's better off alone.
Yeah.
And then but God gave them the innate desire to support, to help, to nurture, to take care of us.
Yeah.
And then it's because of that, and they can still practice it without us. I'm coming back to what my wife says. We are nothing without you, but without us, you are everything.
Yes. Yes.
You need to understand that as a woman. And the next man who comes and wants to take you to bed, just tell him you can't put your finger in my thing before you put my
ring.
finger in your ring.
Yeah.
It's very, very important. But they're afraid to say that because they know that the moment I say that, he's leaving.
He's leaving.
The one who should leave will leave.
Yeah.
But the predators will leave and look for another target, but a husband will stay.
Yeah.
Because they know that if you could say no to me, you can say no to anybody else.
Let me say something very controversial, but Mrs. Mayers will like it.
I mean, it's unchristian.
Christian. Women need to understand the power of the vagina.
I was so going to say that. Okay, give me time. I'm coming there.
And the pain of blue balls.
The power of a vagina. Guys, you have got some. Talk about it, girl. Talk about it.
I was called to a women's conference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were expecting the apostolic.
Yeah.
And when I'm on the pulpit, even the voice changes. I went there, I talked about the vagina, guys.
Yeah.
Ngathi, this thing is very, very serious. Because it is the one thing that you cannot do unless you're married. And let's not make it Christian because from culture, because people like culture and tradition,
Yeah.
not from where I come from what I know. You have to go through processes, baklola,
all of that. It's serious.
Ifang or something. I forgot the terms, whether it's in the the Swatis, the Zulus, and it's your pride that when you go through that every single year or every the season, your thing comes out white. Your sheet lacquer must come out white. So it's unchristian.
Yeah.
I'm getting to this podcast.
Come on. Yeah, I know. Yeah, you told her,
and so it's everywhere if we look around, so let's not blame the Christians, but I feel like let's go back to the basics of the importance of not making sex too casual, because it's not casual.
Yeah.
It's a very spiritual thing, but we've made it casual because in one night you sleep with 5 women or five men, that is. But your vagina is so precious. I said in that conference, it's so delicate and unique that if unabobaba manamachaz,
yes,
angazi nina nabaglobola sisnandi, when you lobola, there were men, and it's old men don't come there to negotiate money. They're negotiating a vagina.
Yes.
Because that is the only thing that could not take place. Christian tradition, culture. It's the one thing that could not take place unless you are married.
Yes.
You could go get a degree. You
Yeah.
can go buy yourself a house and a car.
Yeah.
But the only thing that they want you to enter into marriage with is a clean spoon vagina that has not been touched by a man. That's how delicate it is.
Yeah.
But we go around just seeing neganje, and I'm talking from experience. I'm also guilty, right? So I'm forward. Babies, I need to
Yeah.
So now ngbuza mina ngizokutshela ukuthi ivale, close it. It's very expensive, this thing, because when they're negotiating that lobola, they're negotiating this vagina. Let's leave the degrees aside, please, guys, because degree or not, why must old men come and talk and discuss you coming into the family?
Yes.
It's this vagina.
Because
it's important. That's how important. And if
it's
women
critical.
can see how important their vaginas are, you will be able to make sure that you don't enter into bed with a man that has not married you. There's no need for tests. I mean, this thing I heard in Sesemncane Bazalani, Mamfundis, that guys, you are not maybe Zani Motors as a driving station. You shouldn't be tested. It doesn't work like that. And somebody could go, but what if sex is important and I get into marriage and this man is not performing?
We are not compatible.
And all that. Come to us. We'll show you. Okay, we won't show you, but we'll help you out. We personally don't. Personally, this is personal. It's not an unchristian thing. Disclaimer: we personally don't believe in porn, for example. But there are sessions that one could have with even a sexologist on how to perform. So you don't have to test. He doesn't have to test you. You don't have to test him out. These things are learned. These things you explore. Your husband's body or your wife's body when you guys are in that union. Once abobaba mama jazz sabaqedile to negotiate and they've given each other blankets and all that, and it's given a go ahead over the vagina, then you can start the process. But don't give out too easily. We are too easy women. We are very, very easy,
And women don't understand what the vagina is a huge motivator for a man.
Yes.
To marry you.
To get his life in order.
And he said
if you
that.
use it right.
Yeah. That's
and
correct.
maybe to use is not the right word, but it's to use.
To use it right.
To use the influence of it.
Yes.
A man can get his act in order or his act together quickly.
Okay. I'm keeping track. So we said you must be busy. You must be busy pursuing the will of God.
You must be in purpose.
Yes.
Your own purpose as a young person before you say I do. Secondly, we said that as a young man, you must go to school. You must develop your character.
Develop yourself.
Develop yourself.
That's right.
Because that helps you to be disciplined as a person, as somebody who's going to be taking a role of a husband. As a woman, you must be in a position of understanding who you are, the fact that you are powerful, and the fact that you don't need marriage. When you know that and you know who you are and you understand that you are actually the prize.
You are the prize.
Oh wow.
You are the prize.
Okay.
We s-
Am I still? Am
Yeah.
I still?
Don't forget the vagina.
Yes.
And the power of the vagina.
With every woman's superpower
Superpower.
That thing is so powerful.
and every
that-
man's weakness.
Yes. And that also a man that wants to have a future with you, that wants to marry you, he'll be clear with his intentions from the
the
very
start.
beginning.
Yes.
He will not waste your time. Uvale, uthe usisi la vale.
Vale.
Yeah.
Asivaleni,
It's
ladies.
not easy though. Can we just point out?
I was about to point that out. Listen, guys, sexual drive and sexual temptation. Guys, it's not easy. Like,
And
what
it's not
do
a
we
sin.
do?
And because see the church has made us feel like the second you have emotions towards somebody, it's a sin. No, it becomes a sin once you attend to that
When you
temptation.
act on it, yeah.
So the secret is attaining discipline once the emotions rise.
Right.
It takes us back to these servants of God that you need to have the discipline to say just because you feel somehow, it doesn't mean that you have to now go and sleep with that person.
yes,
you
yes.
know, so it's very important to manage your emotions
Yes,
sexually.
Yes. Powerful. Now, when we move forward into the premarital or getting ready to get married to somebody, you found somebody, what definite conversations need to take place? What questions must be asked in each other? And,
Okay.
a couple comes to you guys for premarital. Umuntu angeke umazi vele in totality, but there have to be some conversations that take place before we get into marriage. For an example, finances, which is a huge issue when it comes to marriage problems. From the top of your head, maybe give us some important things that must be discussed.
Before he takes over, I just want to track something. When you formulate those conversations that you have to have or the questions that you have to ask. If we meet each other at this point in our lives, it's a certain point and we are going to another. But you must realize that there were many other points in my life prior to that that make up who I am.
Right.
That is the unfortunate truth.
Yeah.
It's like our brains or our minds. Well, the part of our brains which is the subconscious mind is like a memory card or an SD card or a hard drive. It stores up everything that it's presented, given, it hears, it smells, it experiences.
Right.
From the time that we were born. I think my husband can speak better because he's in the psychology field. These have been transferred to me through sex. So now I know.
I'm a
these
STI.
And so it's like from the time that you're born, your hard drive, which is your subconscious, is storing information.
Right.
Everything,
Right.
And mind you, I'm saying the subconscious, so it means that it's not at an awareness level. So you're not even aware as a baby that your brain is storing up things.
Yes.
And sometimes we have these things where you call it, I'm having an epiphany. I feel like this has happened before, or I feel like I've been in this situation before. It's because the mind is picking up things, that you are not even aware.
Yes.
And so imagine if you're meeting me at the age of 28 and you're 30 or 45 and 50. Imagine how much my hard drive is filled at that time.
Stages of life is fun.
That is the first point that we need to look at.
Sure.
So already I'm full. I'm a full hard drive. I've been hurt. I've been in pain. It was my parents. It was my ex-girlfriends. It was my ex-wife, my ex-husband. It was at work.
Yeah.
It was a condition I had. It was mental health issues. It was the church I went to. It was the
Wow.
church I didn't go to. It was social media. It was so much influence, both negatively and positively, that is filled in this hard drive. Now, it's not as easy as just deleting the hard drive and clearing it. Unfortunately, life is not like that. So there have to be means on. I would call it, if it's a hard drive that is full of so much memory, stored with so much information, the best that we can start doing when we are about to get married or in that premarital phase is to file and archive certain things.
Sure.
In order to want to move on, you
Yeah.
need to archive certain things.
Wow.
Put folders. The second you can define something, the second you can label something, it has no power. You succumb it to a certain extent. So if you have files in you that this is my past and you label it as that, can it be just that? Let it be your past. Let it not spill over into your
the
future.
marriage, yeah.
If it is your parents that have hurt you, and of course this is very deep, Sis Nandi, it's very deep because it needs psychological intervention.
Yeah.
It needs even pastors, but those who are trained
Yeah.
to be able to deal with something where you're able to label, because sometimes you can't even label. You find yourself, it's premarital counseling stage and you are blaming your girlfriend who's to be your wife, but
Yeah.
actually the problem is you. But you need somebody who's external that can actually paint that picture for you. And once they're able to paint that picture for you, they label it. Now, your father hurt
Yeah,
you, so
yeah,
we
yeah.
label it. So whatever your father hurt you and whatever feelings you accumulated, you're now spilling them over to this poor woman.
man.
And so, but when you're able to label them there, it's a file that you know that it's archived and it's stored there.
back there.
And it's this, it's that, it's that. So I think what's important when we ask these questions is we need to understand that we are from somewhere.
Yeah.
We are coming from
products
here.
of
We are
something.
products of something. We're products of our background, of our, our childhood, our parents, the lack of
Powerful,
parents,
powerful.
our friends that betrayed us. And because of that, what the mind does, it's sort of, the mind likes patterns, so it tries to create some form of a pattern, hurt, pain, disappointment, desperation. And it forms this thing and it tries to bring everything that it can that is close to what it knows. Or or you behave in a manner that is what word could I use? That is in line to what your brain knows.
Yes.
And so that's how you'd behave towards your spouse. That's how you would do things towards your spouse, because it's there's an English word, but it's in line to, it's a pattern in line to what your brain
Right,
already knows.
right.
And so if we can start it from there, we will understand that 70% of the things your spouse does, it's not because they're trying to hurt you. In fact, 90%, I'm going to be bold enough and say 90%. It's not because they're trying to hurt you, but they are a product of something. And they're not even aware of it. They don't know the level of trauma that particular situation caused, the level of damage that it caused, what it conditioned the subconscious mind to see. So if you were hurt by several women in your life, which was the female teacher and it was your mom, there's already a pattern. So it appears that anyone that is female that wears a skirt is hurtful. So the second this person comes into your life, your mind says they're gonna hurt you, even though you don't. And something that my husband can explain from a psychological point of view, because now you are at the upper end, you are like, I'm going to hurt them before they hurt me, because it's already a pattern.
My goodness.
It's what happened to me.
So would you say that when we then meet somebody and getting ready to marry, it's important to divulge
100%.
all of this, the contents of this hard drive?
You have to.
You have to spell it out, You have to
I
talk
mean,
about it.
I love media and IT, but I'm not like a good. I want to say I'm self-taught, but I'm an amateur.
Yeah.
And I know that when you have to, whether it's a computer or whatever, there's a part where you obviously have to format it. Say,
Yeah.
I'm giving it to somebody.
Yeah.
I love these analogies. And
Yeah,
I just make this
they're
up
nice.
right now. So you're giving the laptop to somebody else,
Yeah.
especially when, like in my corporate job just yesterday, I had to be given a very fancy new laptop. Sorry guys, let's just take a breath. So it's one of those 360 ones where you turn
Oh
them
man,
around.
nice,
Hey,
nice.
Wenda.
Ah, come on now.
That thing is so fancy. So when I have to give them, so I have to give the IT department the one that I have now in order to give it to somebody that might need it. So they have to format the whole thing, meaning they
Yes.
started literally from scratch. They
Clean it.
reset it, they clean it out. But they also need to know the content in that before they restart it.
Yes.
So when you
Yes.
restart your life with somebody else, it's imperative that you know the current content from A to Z.
Glory.
What software is in there? What
Glory.
software was installed? What files are in there? Are the files? Because even when he asked me, he said, are there any files that you need in this current laptop to cross over the next one?
Yeah.
There's some files they can't be deleted, they shouldn't be deleted. Others can't be archived, they need to be used. Others have to be stored, others have to be stored in another memory. It's a lot. But when you sit down and you divulge all of this and you let it all out, you walk a journey together.
Powerful stuff.
Because then these things pop up out of the blue, My husband and I had a lot of talks with some of the stuff. Some of it came out into our marriage, and I wish we had the conversations before. But the ones that we did have in the early hours with, the Vodacom thing, it was easier for me to pick up some of the behavior.
Yeah.
And I would tell him, I would say, you're not speaking to me now, you're speaking to your ex-wife.
Yeesh.
Because I knew that now I didn't do what you're saying I'm doing, but you're answering somebody and you're not answering me. And I would say, but you're talking to your ex-wife because you are attaching to what I'm doing now to your ex-wife.
something
And that's
else.
not what I'm doing. My issue is very innocent, but now I'm already guilty before proven innocent
Yes.
because of your past. And it made some of the things easier.
So healing is very important.
100%.
I'm going to put it in simple terms. I think my wife said a mouthful.
Yeah.
I mean, even people who do premarital counseling, I think they minor on the they major on the major and they major on the minor.
I get you.
And then when they talk about communication, they talk about tell your spouse when you are going to the shop and tell your spouse when you are coming back.
Which is so much
tell
on
your
the surface,
spouse how
yeah.
much you spend. That is, it's not even a cherry on top. I don't know. It's the stick on top of the cherry on top.
I see you.
Very superficial.
You know? Yeah.
Yes. So I would say I hope, but my wife is going to understand me. I would say talk about the things that you cannot talk about.
Yeah.
Because if you can talk about it, it's not the problem. It's just a finger pointing towards the problem. When you, like for example, we would say talk about your value system. Obviously, I will say I value family, I value my wife, but we are not aware that our values are built on our voids.
Values are built on voids.
They are built on voids. Consciously, my wife will tell you, consciously, I value family. I value my wife. But unconsciously, I value work and I value survival. I mean, if I sit here with my wife, we are watching a movie, what if we don't get enough money and then will we be able to watch the movie sitting under the bridge together? So I want to be there, but I have a void that even when I'm there, I feel empty.
Wow.
So that's something that you cannot talk about because it's not in your conscious mind. Consciously, I would say I want 3 children, but only to find that unconsciously, I don't even want 1 child. So my wife spoke about the unconscious.
Yeah.
That's where life happens.
Yeah.
If we can quantify it, let's give it 90%. 90% of what we do is driven by our unconscious mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
And unconscious mind, things that are in our unconscious mind are the things that we are not aware of.
Goodness.
And those are the voids, the traumas, the aggression, the anger, the sexual urges. Sometimes you can have sexual desires upon someone unconsciously. That's how people fall into temptations. Because consciously, you are not my type. But unconsciously, you are just the person that I need. That is why I said you find the right person for you when you are not looking. Because when you are looking, you're not looking for the person who can be your partner. You are looking for a polyphila that can fill your void.
Wow.
Sometimes you call them love languages.
Yeah.
Someone
Yeah.
told me I'm not smart. I passed. They said the test was too easy. I became position 1. They said I'm the best of the all. I'm the best of all stupid people. Like there's nothing good that they told me, and that creates a void of words left unsaid,
Yes.
and words that are said that shouldn't have been said. And when I come to my wife and my wife says, "You are such a wonderful person," that fits perfectly into my void.
And then I say my love language is words of affirmation.
And then I say my love language is words of affirmation. It's your polyphila. That's why even though you get words of affirmation, you still don't give back the love that you have.
Yeah, guys.
Because it doesn't speak to your love language. It just fills the void, and now you feel complete. Now that I feel complete around you, I don't need to be around you.
I just remembered something, Nunu. You're saying something powerful. This in premarital counseling, something just came to me that it needs to be addressed somehow, because once we communicate even our past, our pain, we need to communicate our needs. These are one of the questions
Yes.
you have to ask. What are your needs? What are your desires? Even if they are subconscious, unconscious, you're not aware of them, or you think it's your love language, but it's the polyphilas. Communicate as much as you can, because sometimes even if you don't communicate something as little as that, here you are 6 years down the line, you are married, and because you think you have a love language of affirmation, and your wife doesn't know, your husband doesn't know, so they're not meeting that need, and then one day you wake up and you guys had a fight, boom, you're at work, unaware of the situation. And you don't know that something is looming, and you're just innocently walking around the office greeting your colleagues, and the one says, "Oh my goodness, I'm what a great job you've done, Dumiso, today. You look so handsome."
Yeah.
You are finished.
Shoo.
And now you fall in love with this person. You think you're in love with this person because they fill that void.
Void.
Yeah, a void that your spouse you didn't even communicate to your spouse, so they
Yeah.
can't even meet your needs. Because I feel like one of the things that we should do when we are married is meet each other's needs. It's not about completing the next person, or I'm in this marriage because I'm codependent on you. But what's the point of being married if we are not going to be there for each other? And the second that I don't meet certain needs that you haven't communicated to me, the second that strikes while we are in marriage could be the downfall of our marriage. Because now you're not complimenting me, you're not saying anything, but all of a sudden there's this person in the workplace. Every morning she calls me handsome. Every morning he asks, how was your exam yesterday? How did the interview go? And your wife doesn't have the luxury to do that at home.
Wow.
And the problem with the void is that when my wife feels in that void, my brain starts deregistering it as a void.
Yeah.
It deregisters it as a need. And the subsequent feeling and thought is, I actually don't need this woman.
Sure.
Because that need has been deregistered. It's like when you are hungry, your brain accentuates your need for food. I need food.
Now.
But how many times do you think about food when you are done eating?
No.
Because the brain deregisters it as a need until you need it again.
It was filed in another folder.
But if my wife is so consistent about filling the void, my brain deregisters it as a void. Now, what's there to love about her? Because the truth of the matter is that we don't fall, most of us, the large percentage, we don't fall in love with our hearts. We fall in love through our wounds, including myself.
Wait, no.
We fall in love through our wounds.
Wait,
I'm not looking for the heart to. I don't have enough love to share with someone. I'm not looking for someone to love.
What?
I'm looking for a bandage to fill up my wound.
Aye,
Most marriages are full of BS, like bloodshed. We have painted our marriages red, knowingly, and including myself. My marriage is red because of blood, and I blame my wife for the blood gushing on her. That comes from the wounds that were cut long before she was born. She was born 10 years after
No,
me.
he's being serious.
So my marriage was destroyed before my wife was born, because I have a very, very traumatic childhood, and the things that I didn't know when you are a child and you feel the pain, the wound is cut, you don't even feel it because you have nothing to compare it against. I mean, you just think, oh, my parents don't love me. That's why they said they locked me outside the house. When now discipline one, I'm going to lock them outside the house until it knocks sense in their heads. They just think, oh, my parents don't love me. It must be that I'm not good enough. So if my parents don't love me, nobody ever will. And then you grow up with that. That opens a wound.
For goodness.
And then somebody who comes, just a slightest indication that they love you, you open up to them.
Wow.
And once you take them, you start feeling, my wife, my parents didn't love me.
Yeah.
So there's no way this one loves me. But because I was too young and vulnerable when my parents locked me outside of the house.
Yes.
Now I'm an adult and in control. My wife said this. I'm an adult and I'm in control. So before you lock me out of the house, like my mother did, I'm going to lock you out of my house. Sure. That's where victims evolve into perpetrators.
And
talk about those things that you cannot talk about. Talk to your therapist. I mean, be serious about premarital counseling. Premarital counseling is not, it's true.
yeah.
But prayer is not in the love equation so much that it can be enough to make the marriage work. We need to understand the equations that we are working on. The ingredients. It's like using a screwdriver to change the tire, to try to unscrew the bolt. It's not going to work. It's the tool, but it's a right tool, but it's not for that job.
Not for that, yeah.
So a very good premarital counselor who has a deep psychology background, we will talk about deep in the other podcast, they will be able to engage you into the conversations that you cannot have. They will spark conversations that you cannot talk about.
Yes, sir.
And then I think that is the most difficult thing that you can ever do before you get married. We you know this. I think I said that with my wife. We were fighting, by the way. And then you don't know a lot of things about yourself. And then I said, yes, I've never been to Google and type, and then it says Lehlohonolo Mazindo. I'm not sure if you remember that. I said every time I go to Google and type my name, I see the things that I put in there.
Yeah, things
There's
that you
nothing
do,
new
yeah.
that I see about me. And the hardest person to know over a lifetime is you.
Goodness.
And most people include other people in their spaces. And you don't know what you are including that person into, and because you don't know yourself. So if you want to stand any chance of succeeding in the marriage, be committed to knowing yourself.
Right.
But unfortunately, you cannot know much about yourself unless if you are in a content that emulates your family.
Yes.
Which is marriage.
Yes.
So marriage is a mirror.
Oh,
Sure.
wow.
Goodness.
But now marriage is a mirror between me and my wife. And I think what I'm seeing in the mirror is my wife. And I become so hard, so cruel, so aggressive. I become so brutal to what I see in the mirror.
In the mirror.
And I say that those things to my wife.
And it's showing you.
It's showing me.
You. Yeah.
So all the things that I'm not willing to admit about myself, I project them on my wife.
Get you.
That's how I created my first divorce, and that's why I created the second one, and I had to stop it. I'm still trying to stop it.
And I think what we need to do, this conversation is, we need to take a break. And I think we need to have a part 2 of this, like immediately.
I was going to suggest that.
Because there's so much that we still need to dig in, just in the premarital issues. We're supposed to do another episode, but I think let's expand on this and touch, and really exhaust it as much as we can. So let's take a break, and you are going to see part 2 next week, Friday, unfortunately. You're going to see it on Friday because this is such a profound conversation, some real important principles that we need to take into consideration. This is expensive content. I'll tell you that right now. The benefit of having a mentor or attending enrichment and empowerment sessions is that you get 50 years of experience given to you.
Yeah.
And this is exactly what we're having in this episode. So let's take a break. We're going to see you next week, Friday, but come back and you're going to get part 2 of this conversation.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you, guys. It's been such an honor to have you.
Yeah.
I've been looking forward to meeting you because I'm one of your subscribers.
She's a fan.
I said this before, but she's very beautiful in person. I did say
Yes,
this.
you did.
Very
Yeah.
beautiful in person.
What's the
thank you,
name of
guys.
your
I
YouTube
take that
account?
as a compliment.
You take that as
You taking it. Tell us about your YouTube content.
Yeah,
and
so
your channel.
we've got 3 YouTube channels. It's my personal one, which is Phindile Mazindo.
Right.
No underscores. I'm not complicated like that. And then his is Lehlohonolo Mazindo. And then
Yeah.
we've got our couples channels, which is called The Maz.
The Maz.
And you guys can join us there.
All right. And remember, Together Till the End, a blueprint for a successful marriage. The book is still available. We'll put the details on the screen. All right. We'll see you in the next part of the conversation. For now, it's goodbye from us.
Bye. We love you guys.